Are we going to feel nice and bliss about this one, or are we going to get the ions pumping through our veins and feel extra spicy? But we got a second series coming up, week 2, day 2. It's the day of twos, which is why we have two brothers looking to go up against each other tonight. It's going to be a bit of an interesting one. Doraemon versus Violet, Tally. Do you like this?
I think it's so cool that we have, two brothers in our league playing against each other. It's like, the only other time I can think back in OC is like way back in the day we had like the Uber Giants Bros, if anyone remembers that. Like they used to play on a team together and they were very good. So it's, it's cool to see we got some family rivalry in the scene, and both are very, very good players.
I want to talk about these guys a little bit more, right? Because it is the top lane versus the AD carry. But look at that, Skimmy. Such a difference in how much experience they have.
Absolutely. Yeah, Violet obviously began his career way back in 2020. Tao was actually sharing some stories with us back in the day, right? He always talk about Spawn in-houses where he made his name for himself, and, Ultra Violet sort of broke into the scene, right? And from that point onwards, has really just gone from strength to strength, always finding a better team, always finding a better position. And you can see there he's managed to go over to the biggest competitions in the world. But his younger brother in Doraemon, not too far behind him, a couple of years later, decides to get amongst it. And they don't actually play double AD carry, right? Violet being the AD carry, Doraemon being the top laner. I think it kind of just sets us up for this narrative of like, if Doraemon can reach the same heights as his brother, do we ever find ourselves in a situation where they're playing on the same team, attending internationals together? Like I'm sure as a parent that would make you the most proud to see that your kids are doing well.
I just want to cut in here and actually mention this really funny that, as you can see, Violet's played a bit more League of Legends and he's got a bit more under his talent, but there's just no smile there. But Doraemon hasn't really been exposed to all the suffering of League of Legends throughout the years, so he's still all smiles. That's really nice to see.
He's not tilted, he's not out of his mind, he's just like, yeah, I'm here for a good time. Violet's like, I've seen the dark side. But let's look at Team Bliss really quickly and see what this team is packing, because they are looking so good. Man, they're all crossing their arms, they're all looking fierce, but the roster that we've all highlighted, Skimmy, it just looks terrifying.
It certainly does. It's a super team built for one reason. You mentioned at the start of the day the Biopanther statistic of 6 finals and 5 victories, but you look at this one and you say, all right, well, you've looked to try and upgrade the roster by bringing back heavyweights in Kevi and Aladoric, and right out the gates they showcase that they are different gravy. Obviously, we saw a bit of a weird and wacky game one for them, a little bit too close for comfort. Obviously, Fury really giving them a good test, but in game 2 they said, you know what, we're just going to play full comfort. We'll have Kevi on a carry. We're going to go for double AD carries. Bio gets to showcase that he can also be the carry as well. And really showcase their mechanical brilliance. So it's going to be yet another uphill battle for the Ion lads. But I think if Fury can get in that run for the money, then so can Ion.
But yeah, that's right. There's another top 4 team that we've sort of got on our list. Ion, again, coming in really big. Cole Lee as well, having quite the sort of debut as well. But Styx feeling so good with, I think, what's the Styx? He's got the highest score there, Tally, at the moment?
I think his little joke right now is that he's tied in KDA, position 1 and 2 with Gala. So, he thinks he's one of the best AD carries in the world right now, which is very nice to have in the back pocket.
Just that it's a little shot jar as well, just sort of ties it in, be like, yeah, nah, it's all right. We're just shooting bullets all day, left and right. But no, I love that. It's like, if you can put yourself up there with Gala, we're doing something right here in Oath, but we'll have to see how Ion's going to fare into this series. You can see some of these games, though, were so well done and just so coordinated. So I'm really keen to see what this team can pull out and maybe throw in a couple meta shifts and really maybe throw Bio or Violet off their path to glory. So I'm pretty keen. Skimmy, is there anything that you expect to see from Bliss, though, however, in this next series?
I would love to see Aladoric get back on his coveted Rakan. Didn't get to play it last week. Gave us a game of the Milio as well as the Nami. So whilst we've got supports like Kurak getting told it's Nautilus all day, every day, Aladoric says, nah, screw that. I'm playing Enchanters. But I would like to see him go for the Rakan. That is his bread and butter. We've seen that Iron are quite comfortable drafting it as well. Something has to give. Something does have to give, Pike. So, yeah, very curious to see what is valued here going into game 1.
And it's going to be a good game 1, but we do actually have Violet joining us for ourselves on the desk. G'day, mate. How are you doing today? Are you excited to go up against your brother for the first time this series?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling great today. Yeah, I'm always very excited to play versus my little bro. Whoever wins gets to eat dinner, and the loser will eat the scraps. So I'm gonna be eating dinner tonight.
What's for dinner though, real quick? Like, is it something like worth fighting for?
Not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure what's for dinner tonight, but it doesn't matter anyways. He's gonna be eating my scraps, so we're good.
Oh, damn. Look, I want to completely steal what Tally mentioned before. We had a graphic comparing you and Doraemon beforehand. He's obviously got the biggest smile on his face, only been in the league for a couple of years. Obviously, you've been around for a hot minute. No smile on your face, mate. We've got this whole resting, like, life is taking it out of you. League is too stressful. All these inters and griefers and so, like, we just reserve these smiles for the special occasions. What's happening here?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing solo queue for like, starting for like four years now. So I mean, solo queue takes its toll on you. You know, when you feel like you're the only one like trying to win, your teammates. Honestly, like my teammates are just like I'm like rank 1 right now, but like every game I play, my teammates are just completely terrible. But you know, I think the thing solo queue is good for that it builds like mental fortitude. So I just need to make sure my mental's strong and we're good to go.
Yeah, and I actually want to ask, because you mentioned about, you know, mental fortitude. I want to ask about your expectations as like for yourself and your team, because I think you're one of the players who, you know, regardless of what situation Otis ends up in, you're always like striving for the best. You're also working really, really hard. So is this like a split where you know, even though we haven't had really good results in you know, in the PCS recently, is this, you know, the time for like us to really take it, or is, you know, is it just another like a learning experience?
I mean, me personally, my goal is to just be a world-class AD carry, but my expectations for my team is honestly like, I want to be able to make a good run in PCS. I think, I definitely think it's doable, like making a good run in PCS, like beating it like 3rd, 4th, 5th seed PCS is definitely doable, but obviously it's very difficult. I think everyone needs to hold each other to the highest accountability possible, and I think I'm trying to instill a mindset in like myself and my teammates that like, you should never be afraid to do more. Like, you should be happy to take as much responsibility as possible and accountability for your gameplay. Everything that you do in and out of game, like whether it be playing solo queue with like a strong mental and like try harding every single game. And yeah, hopefully like me and my team will be able to like show that like all the hard work will pay off at the end of it. So
Awesome to hear.
Oh, mate. That's what you like to hear, mate. Well, Violet, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait for your brother to eat all the Zinger Box scraps that you're going to be getting after this game. Could be a little bit rough for him, but I'm excited to see it. But good luck out there. I know you guys are going to crush it.
thank you very much.
The confidence.
Damn.
The confidence. Wasn't even just saying, nah, Doraemon's got nothing. It's just like the team's feeling prepared. They're looking strong. They're going hungry for it. It's a nice change of pace, Tally.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I get to speak with Violet behind the scenes a lot, so like I understand his mentality towards the game. It's very similar to Bayer. Like, he's a very, very hard worker, regardless of like what circumstances he's put in. He's always striving for the best, which is really nice to see. So it's cool to see, because I even get to, you know, notice people who don't really like playing solo queue playing a lot more solo queue. But we get to see, you know, Aladoric taking a break from Valorant, coming back onto the Rift, you know, instilling fear in the supports of our region. And I think it's really cool to see that everyone's working so hard, even though, you know, we've been in such dire straits for a while. It's nice to see that, like, oh, there's like a little ray of sunshine that might happen.
Well, Skimmy, I want to touch on that. Do you think with this newfound sort of drive to do well at PCS that these teams will actually step up and really start to make their mark? Do you think there's a big possibility?
I think there's always a possibility. I think you've always got to have that self-belief, or you're just doomed before you even begin. I think it's a conversation we need to have with the players as we get closer to the playoffs to sort of say, at what point do we unite? I think a few players have even said, you know, that the LCO finals being there after the PCs have happened kind of just feels like a bit of an icing on the cake. It's just like a nice way to get a little bit of extra practice. But if we're going to say, yeah, we're going over as the 2 strongest teams, let's just religiously scrim one another or share information, whatever it takes to try and get that advantage. Almost like a case of like us versus them, as opposed to like, we're in competition against each other, but then we're going overseas to be competition as well. So it's probably going to be like a bit of a mentality shift across the board. But yeah, Violet's always been confident ever since we've known him. He's had plenty of you know, Zinger interviews where he's just dropping truth bombs left, right, and center. So I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
Nah, it's great to get that experience too. Like, again, he's been around for so long. He's just the top of his game. He's feeling good. The rest of his team's feeling just as good. And like you said, Tally, if Aladoric's back in solo queue, look, anything's possible. The sky's the limit for this roster because they just want it so bad. I would be curious to see how the LJL's looking as well, considering they're also part of the PCS, and sort of comparing them to our region too. Shame they don't have an English cast either, but still, like, it's a big sort of conglomerate of teams and players coming together towards PCS, but we'll have to wait later on into the split. But at the same time, I think Bliss has a lot to show us, right? They've sort of get towards the end, and then they drop off a little bit. Like something happens, maybe that mental diff happens too. Do you think we could see a different if they're focusing so hard on that mental fortitude, Tally?
I would specifically give this point to Aladoric. Like a lot of the teams I've been on him in the past, like I have experienced that, like, you know, the teetering out towards the end, but I think that he's someone who is very good at rallying a team. He is very good at making sure that you're always like focused when it matters, especially on like game days. So I'm not too worried about like if this roster will have outside circumstances that might affect the performance. I think they have everything they need to succeed, and like the onus is all on them at this point.
Yeah. Nah, 100%. But now I do want to now jump over. We've got Doraemon, the other brother, the two brother, coming back on. Mate, how are you feeling into that? Your brother had a lot to say and a bit of smack talk towards you. Said you're going to be eating scraps tonight. Do you think you're going to be eating those?
No. I hope to get one win off them at least.
One win, I like that. Maybe not going for two?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit ambitious, but, you know, the roster is pretty stacked, but, I mean, I'll try to get at least one dub.
Yeah, nice. Now, I want to actually quickly ask, before we jump over to someone else, sorry, I just wanted to interrupt. You've just come up from, like, the ODT and sort of the amateur scene as well. Are you finding the difference between the gameplay pretty hectic, or is it kind of similar?
Amateur and Pro League is very different. The base skill level is just way higher. Yeah, I mean, just mechanics, huge diff, and then brain gap is also another thing to consider. It's pretty big difference overall.
Yeah, true. Well, it's good to see a lot of those extra players coming in, but I'll pass it over to Skimmy. I know he's got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, Doraemon, obviously lovely to see you again in action. I'm curious to see what your approach will be tonight into Biopanther, obviously one of the best top laners we've ever had in the league. Is it going to be a case of you playing like a Cassante and just sleeping at the wheel thinking how fun is top lane, or are we going to get exciting? We're going to play things like the Aurelia, Twisted Fate, Camille, like any way for you to try and be the star of the show?
I think I'll stick to carries. Like, I don't think anyone is going to beat Bio playing like tank versus tank. He's just hard to break, you know. I think I'll play my own game and hopefully I win.
Beautiful.
Awesome. And I want to ask, because, you know, a lot of top laners look up to, you know, the better professionals. You would think like Zeus, the Shy, like these are people you look up to. But I'm curious because, you know, Violet is a very decorated player. Is he someone you look up to as a pro player, someone like you strive to be, or, you know, is he just like he's a noob? You know, I want to be more like the best players in the world.
I mean, his mental's there. He wants to be the best, which is also what I want to be. But yeah, obviously there's different circumstances. He's in OS, and the other players are in Asia, so it's much harder.
I nerfed. Very, very true. Well, thank you so much, Raymond, for jumping on to the cast for us, mate. Good luck in your games. Fingers crossed you get that one win. We could be hoping for two, though, but best of luck out there.
Yes, got a wave. Nice.
We did.
Oh, yeah, got away. Look, not as much confidence coming out of Draymond. It's the second brothers, two brothers in a game, looking to fight it out on the Rift. Who knows what champions they're going to play?
Well, yeah, I think it's a valid point to say that you don't want to match it tank for tank, because it's a fair consideration. I don't think anybody really can take that down to Biopanther. I'm just curious to see how explosive he wants to get in terms of a carry matchup. Things like I mentioned, like the Gwen, the Aurelia, the Twisted Fate, and so on. You can certainly get pretty spicy with it. Double blue side, though, so clearly both teams selling that first pick priority. I wonder if there's a world in which we get Skarner. I'm going to say it every single time, boys. It's been permanently banned. It will have to happen one day.
Or do we get you that first pick for Khan Aladark?
Nah, I don't think so.
Nah, it's never going to happen.
I'm just trying to get a little
You
bit
wait until Red Side Bliss, it's happening. Fifth pick Rakan.
Yep.
Bet.
Well, let's have a look at the talent prediction here and see what we've all been playing with and what we're expecting to see in this next series. I know we've all got the same score. It's the 2-0. We're looking good. I think it's just the confidence out of Bliss, but who would have thought? Tally?
Yeah, this is still like the same.
Wait, look at my points. What is going on there?
Alright, we
Wait,
gotta fix that. We gotta fix
what?
that. Call it back. Anyway,
Wait, let me go for the YouTube thumbnail. Okay, that's good. They've got the thumbnail. Carry on, Telly. My apologies.
that is all good. You know, go fit your bit in. I would say it's the same story as last game. I expect, you know, even though Bliss had a weaker performance in week 1, they're still the team you want to see very strong performances from. But I would say this is a closer series to me. I think Ion is a very, very strong side. So if it does, you know, end up being that 1 point each, I wouldn't be too surprised. But I'm still going to stick with my guns, go with the 2-0, because I think that, you know, Bliss should be the powerhouse here.
Yeah.
Bliss looking like a good powerhouse, but also you're going to have to get those Twitch points in. Get them up there, as that's the place to get it sorted. Put those placements in, because who knows who's going to win. I bet you it's going to be a lot of points on Bliss, but Ion as well, you can't discount that. But you definitely got to get in. But I believe, if I've heard correctly, it's game time. And Skimmy, it sounds like it's your cue to just kick me out and we can just have some fun. How's that sound? Other way. Other way.
I've used a very mini broom. I don't think you really saw that. I was trying to clean up. I know Telly likes to clean a very clean shop and some very clean plays, which hopefully we get to see in this series. Some very esteemed individuals on the rift. As you can see, Bipanther getting himself warmed up and ready to rock and roll. But I think you raised a very valid point there, Telly. I am looking at a 2-0. Wouldn't be too surprised if we had a very competitive series that didn't really paint the full picture with that result. But look, upsets are notable. Would be really keen to see it happen here tonight, and would certainly keep you guessing when this is a super team roster if they're already having those sort of like early defeats.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the time for Ion if they want to prove that they are like a contender for the title, that like this is the moment to take Bliss down. I think they showed weakness in the first week that is abusable by a team that has such strong, you know, solo laners and a proficient carry in sticks. If it's, you know, the time to strike, it is now, but, you know, also on the other hand, it's time for Bliss to like lock in and prove that like, yeah, we're also on that same level as Ground Zero right now. We also can have these really, really clean games. It's also like we are like the contenders right now. We are the team everyone should watch out for.
That's exactly it. They want to prove that they are the real deal and that all the hype is, in fact, justified. First pick on the Caitlyn once again for the second series in a row. With the Jhin copying the ban, realizing that it was far too broken, that the stats will still say super inflated going into the following week. So the response from Styx will be that, well, can't be the Jhin, it'll have to be the Varus instead, which tends to be the next best option.
Yeah, if they do... Okay, so they did lock in Nautilus here. I'm curious to what Aladoric wants to answer with here. We saw that in the last game, which was like a very decent answer, but knowing Aladoric and like how deep his champion pool goes, like will he pull out stuff like the Morgana, which is very good into the Varusol, very good into the Nautilus hook, but I know Aladoric's tried... trusted champions left up, I used to call him... Iron Solari Aladoric, and here it is.
I just remember there was that one clip many years ago when he gets like a 4-man combo, and it's just like, that is disgusting. There's just no way a Leona should be allowed to achieve just that. Yet again, another Nidalee performance. We saw it the other week. Incredibly strong if the game gets to go later and later. That heal steroid is just a little bit too broken. That Caitlyn will be doing criminal amounts of damage. Begs the question then, what does Coley want to go for? Was teasing the idea of Viego in the end, gets told we need more engage, switches to the Maokai.
Yeah, I think Maokai's a very good answer to Nidalee. Like, you shouldn't really try to match like this strength in the early game. She's going to clear faster, she's going to be a bit better in these skirmishes, but the point-and-click CC to enable your team to take down such a squishy champion is always really nice. Like, Nidalee cannot block the ult coming out of Maokai, cannot like outplay a flash route, so it's just a nice answer. I do like the Nidalee though in isolation to you know, pair with the Caitlyn lane. I think that it's very good at enabling strong laners. It's very fast around the map, very good at acting with, you know, the trap stackers like pseudo wards to create some vision line for your team to play a bit more confidently even though you're not there.
That's exactly what you need, right? At the end of the day, vision is the most valuable stat, probably next to movement speed in this game, to do as you want to make better decisions. You can see the second half of this ban phase, clear decision from Ion to target Hayrik, make sure he's not comfortable. His most played recently would certainly be the likes of the Orianna and the Azir. Whether or not we start to get into territory of Victor, as you mentioned, it was one of your picks you were looking forward to seeing this week, or we decide, you know what, Syndra, LeBlanc, those are still a little bit more preferential, as opposed for Bliss. They ban away the Camille, showing a great deal of respect to Doraemon.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Harry getting banned out here. He has, like, we know his champion pool is huge. Personally, I think that Twisted Fate's a really, really good pairing with Nidalee and Caitlyn, you know, setting up the CC. So if there was an angle for it to come out, it would be now. Also really good at, you know, oh, we can't like play toward this Caitlyn because we have to worry about like the global threat coming out of TF. So it's another blanket of defense coming out for the Caitlyn bot side of Bliss. But we'll have to see what Ion do want to prioritize. They have got their bans locked in and what kind of playstyle they want to go because their comp is quite flexible right now.
Well, it certainly is. 3 of the most picked champions for Doraemon, the Cassante, Rumble, and Camille all denied away. Next after that would be the likes of the Gragas Jax as well as an Aatrox. But a Tristana going to come out to play here. So double 80 setup here from Ion, making sure they have infinite sieging potential. Surely the best bet if you have a Nidalee comp is have the double 80 carry setup, but not to be the case just yet. We'll see what their response will be, if they will save their last pick for Hayri, as they buy more time, considering what their option could be blind for top. And at this stage, Bio's considering Jax.
Yeah, this just seems to be Bio's like staple carry blind pick. Just, you know, create some pressure on the side lane. Side laners are OP. They always have been. If you're able to get through lane and play that aggressive bit on side lane and be able to play for flanks, TP flanks, it's always really nice. I'm curious to see if they do want to, you know, play for the solo AP Nidalee. They still have access to stuff like the Corki, the Yone, you know, a lot of the 80 bruisers. Have to see what Harry does prioritize here.
They're cycling through a fair few options, obviously assisted by Aladora, keeping us all guessing at this point of the game. And at the very final hour, they switch it up to a Yone. So pretty exciting, to be quite frank. Yes, it's not your double traditional 80 carry setup, but there's a lot of 80 damage that can be empowered by the Nidalee. And certainly a comp that wants to say, we're going forward, we're backed up then by spears and bullets from this Caitlyn.
Yeah, I don't really like Yone in this position though. It's quite hard to play. Like you're not going to necessarily get a lead in your 1v1 against the Tristana, and then like playing against that much CC, especially with the cannon coming in on 5p, means you're going to have a really, really hard time team fighting. It's more so just to pair with the Nidalee. You know, I have some CC to set up your spear. I'm an 80 champion, so you know you can have reign of the game as a sole AP champion against, you know, the squishy champs that Ion is showing right now.
But soon, a fair few squishy champs, double yordles to come out at the very end there with the Tristana and the Cannon. But it's been a long time since we saw Cannon. This was once upon a time a Biopanther true and trusted, wasn't it? The ability just to say, we will team fight better than you. And it almost seems like that's the approach here from Ion, is that we have infinite engage through the Nautilus as well as the Maokai, maybe a ranged engage from the Varus, but then a Cannon that can come through and really punish anybody out of position from Bliss.
Yeah, I really like the Cannon coming out as the 5p from Ion. It's so good into pretty much every champ that Bliss has shown. There's a reason why Jax used to be a champ that no one wanted to blind pick. It was like this specific matchup. It's very hard for Jax to navigate. Every time you jump in, you get hit with a stun, you get poked in lane. It's very hard to, you know, snowball as you are constantly just being harassed, and, you know, Cannon's able to accrue that gold lead. And then if you hit the insane TP flank in the mid game, we saw what, you know, world-class players are able to do in this champion. You're able to completely take over a game with the Slicing Maelstrom and just, you know, run rampant.
Well, you certainly can. What a fantastic champion it is to come back into the fold of things to showcase if Ion can eke out an advantage or not. Doraemon said he wanted to play carry, and that's what he'll do as we load into the Rift for the second time tonight for our second series. Obviously, the overarching narrative has been that it is Team Bliss, a super stacked squad, looking to try and bounce back from their third place playoff finish in Split 1. As for Ion, can they continue to be the dark horse team that keeps us all guessing and almost invites himself into the conversation of this is no longer a top 3 league, but in fact a top 4. Two brothers. Obviously, you mentioned before, Tally, that they've been overseas together to career for a boot camp, and I mean, an experience like that would be absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first time you go to Korea, this would be Doraemon's first time, Violet's being multiple times, that you get to really experience a different kind of league. The individual skill that you get to experience when you go to Korea versus like the Oceanic solo queue is quite insane. Like, you're going to be versing the same caliber of players from Challenger and Ocean that you would in like Low Master Korea. And the player base is just, you know, so much larger, so you get a wider array of, like, you know, different players, different champion pools, different experiences that you can all bring back to our region, you know, and hopefully become a better player.
Well, I think you can become a better player. Obviously, those lessons do eventually taper off because you're not a product of that environment anymore. But maybe one day, when we're super old and have become boomers and we're washed up from doing League of Legends anymore, maybe the internet will become that extreme that you can play anywhere in the world with zero lag. One can dream, we can pray, we can hope. But for the meantime, let's talk about this series here. Let's sort of touch on the comps, their identities, what they're looking to try and find as their win conditions. Let's start with Bliss first. Obviously, we touched on that the Nidalee's going to have an incredibly quick clear compared to that of the Maokai, but you were a little bit critical of this Yone. Do the other lanes look better to you?
Yeah, well, minus the Jax lane, I think that, you know, bot lane's completely fine in this matchup. We saw how well it went for Ground Zero in our last series. I think it's going to be pretty similar in this game, even though Ion are a bit more proficient as a bot lane. I think I'd give them, you know, the expertise gap. I think this mid laner can be pretty hard to play. We just see Jovi starting out with a W here, which is very nice to see. He's abusing the Q cooldown that Harry went for onto the minion there, getting a little bit of a chunk, you know, keeping the wave much more neutral because his E isn't auto-pushing the wave.
Certainly is. It's always a consideration, right, of the Tristana matchup, given that you don't want to be passively pushing, but you can't avoid it if you do go in for that CS thing. Let's see if Jovi can be that explosive mid laner that we've seen time and time again. Was the MVP in their last matchup and gave us an interview, actually, in that one as well to bolster his prowess. But Harry, obviously a veteran in the scene, has copped a few bans in this draft phase, decided, no, I just want more AD damage. Don't need to play those control mages this time. So no doubt we'll be spending a big portion of our time looking towards mid. As for top, you mentioned that the Jax should be falling behind. Is it as simple as just saying the ranged mismatch of Kennen makes it difficult?
Yeah, it's just hard for Jax to find the windows to, trade aggressively because he can't jump in. He's going to get stunned consistently. If Dorimon does a good job spacing him, he can just keep harassing every time he goes for CS. It's also very hard to gank Kennen, which is probably like the main thing about this matchup. Is like most times you see Jax counters just fall over to the jump counter strike with the jungle gank, but Kennen with access to the lightning rush can easily navigate the gank.
And he certainly can. We'll see if that were to come to a head in a second. As Kevy already level 3 double buff, looking for his first gank of the game. Explosive shot is already teed up, ready to go, and with Jovi just hanging on, he gets first blood. How has he done that, Tally? 15 health. That's the difference.
He has just got away with murder there. That should have been a kill going over to Bliss, with the execute coming out in Italy plus that red buff tick. But unfortunately, the red buffs didn't tick that one time, and Kevy thought he had the auto attack, goes into tower range, and falls down himself.
Oh, an absolute nightmare now. You've just given across double buffs to a ranged Tristana, a little bit of a nightmare. You see a top lane for a second, potentially a gank taking place there, but then back to the bot lane we look as well. Nothing separating these two at this stage. No barrier on this occasion, no heal either. Double cleanse, because there is just so much CC in this game, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the one saving grace that Bliss had in this game is pretty easy to gank the Tristana when you have access to the double flash. But now that they've blown both of them, as we'll see Kevy hovering around bot, I don't really expect to see anything here. They're gonna play range and it'll be a bit safe. They should feel like Kevy's around here. We see the mid jungle bot coming down here as Alpha flashes forward.
Well, Hex Flash, true to his name, wanted to get Hex Flash up and available as quickly as possible, so he just burns the normal flash just to try and get a little bit crazy and clever with it. Tried to have his little MLG moment, but wasn't to take place, so I suppose he's been embarrassed on that occasion. But either way, that's one less summoner, one bit of pressure that Kevy can find for free as we pop back into mid lane and see just how damaging it is for Harry to try and navigate this matchup now.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the fact that there aren't flashes in this matchup anymore means that it's very easy for Tristana to survive any ganks. And in the 1v1, she has double buff. She's going to do a much better job with the item lead that she has to be able to constantly harass the Yone and build up a lead and make sure that she can get into a position where she's very comfortable to carry this game.
I thought maybe, Tally, we had avoided the curse of a pause for
No!
But unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. It just had to be 5 minutes into this one, and we find ourselves in a similar situation again. So hopefully this one is not as long as last time, not needing us to go to a break or anything along that line. But I suppose, yeah, let's touch on what we've seen in the game so far. Flash is being burnt, double buffs found for the mid lane of Jovi, and Dorimon with a pretty comfortable lead to kickstart this game.
Yeah, I think this is pretty expected of what we saw in the previous game. It's very similar. We're going to see a lot of the action around mid lane where the game kind of revolves around this matchup, and the same with the bot lane. It's just all about making sure that these lanes can survive. I think Ireland doing a really good job to, win the lanes they should be winning. We see the Kennen getting a lead. The Tristana is doing really good in the 1v1 to be able to survive that gank and also get the shutdown or the first blood. And the bot lane, to survive when their wave was in a bad position. So it's good to see Ion playing together as a team. And, we're not seeing Bliss just completely roll over them yet.
Well, that's exactly right, and that's what you want. You do want a competitive series, regardless of the outcome, what it means for these teams. You just want to see that the region levels up as a whole. I suppose talking about Ion's game plan then, we're seeing a fact that top lane is winning. Would that lend its hand then that Coley should be paying more attention towards the Grubs and the Herald as opposed to the Dragon, or is that a bit of a moot point?
I think it's really important to make sure your bot lane can play this game. Kennen will do really well, by himself. Actually, I can't remember what. Okay, it doesn't matter. But it's really important that we make sure bot lane can play this game because Kennen is going to do really good in the 1v1 and be able to even stop Nidley probably in the 1v2 scenario because you don't really want to run into a slicing maelstrom as Kennen's going to be able to get priority, walk towards the river, and shut down that vision control that Nidley might be able to grab from Maokai sitting on the bot side, making sure that bot lane isn't having a rough time.
Certainly do hear your fair share of supports and AD carries say, I need the resources, I need to be the star of the show. This is my meta. Hexflash being ready. Eladoric looking for the Zenith blade just out of range. Jovi surrounded by 3 members, both sides of the lane, looking to threaten the gank. He says, get away. I have no flash. I'm just going to buffer the rocket jump. You're wasting your time by paying me a visit.
Yeah, so this is how the trade's going to go. We see Harry hitting his entire combo onto the Tristana, but he's just eating the explosive shot back. He's losing so much health. It's going to get even worse from this point. He doesn't have the gank pressure because we've seen like the map changes to mid lane. The lane is so much wider. It's so much harder to get the jump onto mid laners because of the size of the lane, especially on a champion who's as mobile as Tristana. So it's good to see Jovi is navigating this gank so well. Looks like he's very comfortable in this matchup.
Certainly is very comfortable, even more so knowing that he's got a support shadowing his position. Just out of vision right now, with Kevy also hovering. For good reason too, should Hexflash be there. But Coley, much to my previous discussion, if mid is winning, if top is pushing, then surely these grubs become that much more attractive. Yes, you put maybe your bot lane further behind because they get access then to the dragon, but I think both teams ultimately are not too upset with what they're able to find.
Yeah, it's just the classic, like, you can have first dragon. We don't think it's really too important. They get grubs, they're pushing lanes, they can get a lot of value out of this, but the dragon isn't finished yet, and we see Ion collapsing here. Are they going to go for the fight?
Yeah, they're looking for it. Eladoric starts things off, then Kevy goes in for the pounce, for the kill, for the flash that disengages to keep Coley alive. Hexflash joins the fight. Priority number 1 is lockdown Violet, but as he hooks himself in, Styx is in no position to assist. The dragon is wailing away on him. It will reset eventually. And neither side is able to find much more than just a single kill.
Zobi couldn't move Skimmy. He tried to go in there. He throws the explosive shot out. He tries to go for the jump onto the Nidalee to finish the kill, but he just can't move. He gets locked up by the Leona Caitlyn combo, and he falls down. And he's the most important member in these skirmishes. He can really take over the game if he has access to these squishy champions.
He certainly can. One reset is all it takes. Let's run it back with the replay once again. It's all about Coley trying to get vision, but then the instant aggression from Eladoric.
Yeah, I think Coley's just a bit too far ahead of his team, and then, Jovi just walks into the range of a Leona. You just eat the stun in the face. You get hit with a trap combo. You can't jump out of there. You can't get the kill that you wanted, and it just lights out from that point.
Yeah, the buster shot away looks nice, but it's not helping you when you're already dead and done by that point. So, bit of a rough start for their first little inclination of what a skirmish could be. You can see checking back into top lane, 20 CS is the deficit now found by Biopemper on this Jackson. Another chance for Harry to try and be aggressive with that slingshot across, but, it's going to take a little bit more than just that to try and find the kill at this stage. You're probably waiting for that first major item to come through, and then, land that Fate Seal to get the job done.
A key point I want to mention in this game is the 10-minute mark. When these Unleashed TPs come on, like the Kennen TP will come back up, I want to see how they use it. I want to see if they're going to go for a TP flank in bot lane and really explode the game. Because I believe Doraemon will be able to get the TP advantage in the isolated 1v1. And if they will use this TP, to snowball the game rather than to grow his own 1v1 lead.
What would we be looking for to almost give us that kind of, that insight that they might be looking for? Is Hexflash going to go on a bit of a magical journey, looking to try and plant some very deep vision?
Well, most of the time, we look at Bliss's bot lane, they've been pushing quite a lot. They're respecting here because they feel like, Coley's in the area, and at the moment, Clef isn't hovering, so they're not playing the pushed away. But very cheeky thing you can do is just drop a ward, like, pretty much anywhere. It's hard to sweep, like, the halfway points in the lane. And, if Bliss decide to play a bit aggressive, push up the lane, go for some turret plates, you just hit them with a TP flank.
Let's just do a little cheeky alcove ward, eh? They'll never sweep that one, surely, guys. Let's see what happens, because Kevy now has finally rocked up to say, look, guys, you're safe. You can push, you can crash, you can play a little bit more aggressive in this matchup. And I think that's sort of to be expected. Hexflash has really disrespected his AD carry there, not soaking up the ace in the hole, but, we'll forgive you on this occasion.
It happens. Everyone gets one. See, heavy trading going on in mid.
A bit of heavy trading, isn't it? Still Harry unable to find that moment to strike to go for the true solo bowler. And I think it's fair as well, because every single time we've checked into mid lane, if it's not a jungler, it's a support, everybody just tends to roam up to make matters worse. This time the buffer is good, the solar flare gets flashed out of, and the turnaround from the Maokai ult is good for the meantime. Hexflash joins in, he goes for a flash of his own to try and get the fight started, but the depth charge is nice, the hook doesn't connect. And that's critical, because the Fate Seal can now land for free. But Harry respects it, instantly disengages that, doesn't want to do much more than just that. And I tell you what, Tally, nobody dies. It's just a whole bunch of fireworks going off.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of abilities going out, but absolutely nothing happening. We see like the Flash Null Assault, the Flash Yone ult, the Flash Leona combo, but like no one is falling down. And I think that this would probably favor the Ion side. Like, they don't really mind about blowing the summoners on the Tristana. Like, it's so important that Yone has Flash to be able to escape the heavy CC coming out of the gank pressure from Ion.
So at this point then, 10 minutes in, it is a dead even game. A single kill between both these teams. The gold, no difference in that regard as well. And the objectives only now starting to show a potential building point for them to work themselves around. And yeah, these slow games become an interesting one because the mid to late game can certainly favor that with the more experience. Is Harry baits a lot of attention as he jumps back to his soul. And they look to say, well, the second spawning of the Void Grubs, how much do we actually want to put towards this? Because the AD carries are locked in lane, and I tell you what, Doraemon, HP check, 10 health, and he's got away.
Yeah, Bio has got, you know, he's got 9 points, he's got 5 points, 9 levels, he's got 5 points to the W, he's got his no tread, he feels much more comfortable trading now, and he's found a very favorable trade. Doraemon doesn't have access to the TP yet, so they're going to lose his Grubs because of that. Something to touch on as well is Jovi's picked up his one item already, so he's power spike, he's ready to fight. Harry's still scaling, you know, he had to go for the early vamp, he didn't get to go for the double combat items in the recurve bow and the pickaxe, so he's going to most likely go for the Bork first, which is the current, you know, popular Yone build to make up for the bit of that early game strength he lost by Lethal Tempo being removed from the game.
It's a good point. I'll tell you what, I do not miss when we used to see tank Yone, right? It was like Blood Rune King into Sunfire Cape plus whatever else afterwards. You're thinking, how can a tank, or how can a champion be this tanky but do so much damage? And I tell you what, Jovi will be very happy doing damage because he's got that Kraken Slayer. So obviously both love Crit Strike, but they're not going to find it at the start.
I would hope to see Jovi go for the IE second. I think that, like, you know, the old classic Tristana build of the Kraken into the Flicker Blades was what we used to see, but, you know, with that item being changed into a Zeal item, it doesn't give you the AD anymore. I think that if you go for the Kraken Flicker Blades, you don't really have damage. And I'd really like to see the IE come in second and the Flicker Blades third to, you know, make, to really enhance the crit that you have there.
Yeah, you're doing tons and tons of damage, and you're not much more than just a like a turret shredding bot if you've just got pure attack speed at that point, right? So let's see what he decides to itemize in for that second moment of the game. Collector now picked up here by Violet, the go-to for these Caitlyn's nowadays. And we're just really waiting for that one true bit of explosion. It's not without them trying. They certainly had their moments to strike, but unable to find the usual levels of success they'd find in other games.
Yeah, we definitely see Bliss being very proactive on the map, but like, I think a lot of this is just to blanket what was happening in the mid lane. Because we do go into another pause, unfortunately, but that does give us more time to talk about the game, which is, you know, always nice. We love yapping. So I think that Harry has done a very good job with, you know, Kevin Aldor to blanket what happened in mid lane. You know, he's closed the CS lead. He isn't suffering too much. You know, the 1v1 is a bit hard, but as long as he's getting gold, he's able to perform in the team fights. That is what is most important. But I also think on the other side, the Ion bot lane has done a really good job to, you know, we saw how hard this matchup was in the last series. To keep the CS lead, to keep the plates very, very, very similar. So it's very nice to see that going into like the objective fights coming up, that we're going to have a very even game.
Well, that's exactly it. And I kind of briefly alluded to the point before, but I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, having been in these situations yourself, but a team that is more experienced and is more comfortable is surely going to be favored in that mid to late game. You talk about Ion being favored maybe with the comp, but if they're not used to the lack of volatility, perhaps, is there going to be almost like foreign ground being treaded where you're like, I don't have the usual 2-item lead or the 5k gold leads? How do we actually, you know, tread through this weird situation?
To a certain extent, yeah. Like, you can, there's always like foreign scenarios you're going to be put on stage that you can never really prepare for in solo queue. But I think that it's just very easy for them to play this game in team fights. It's always just like, okay, throw Norse Hawk if it lands, go. Throw Maokai Ult if it lands, go. You know, Kennen TP flank, go. It's just very straightforward from them. Whereas like Bliss, they have to land these very like nice engages with like Leona. As we do see them coming into River here, if Hexflash just want to go for the ult.
Simply put, the ease of execution for Ion is just that much better than what TV have to offer in retaliation. Alador, the focus right now, goes in for a solo flare. ZF Blade, Jovi dropped to 50, but that is all she wrote on this occasion. Violet completely zoned away from the fight, was able to chuck out an ultimate and get people low, but yeah, Ion were able to actually, you know, find the mark.
Yeah, so Ion does find the kill down to Aldoric, but I don't think he is too upset with going down there. They've used so many resources, you know, the Varus ult and all ults, so now that his AD carry feels much safer to play the game, his mid laner feels much safer to play the game. They got the vision that they wanted. Unfortunately went down, but it's still a little win in the end for them, that they got that control, and now their AD carries feel a bit safer to farm, or their carries feel safer to farm, sorry.
Always like it when a carry feels safe to farm. You know, just get to vibe out, ignore everybody on the map, say, oh, you're going up to Herald? That's cool. I'm just going to keep farming these waves. You know, just a happy farmer living a regular 9-to-5 lifestyle. And I suppose that's all an AD carry wants at the end of the day. It's just the freedom to not be ganked by these top laners that have 14 levels above them. Hence probably why this patch was a case of, let's make sure that AD carries no longer cry. Let's see, though, what he's actually going to opt for. Is the first strike, right? So you would expect this lethality variation to be fully built into, should then be able to match the range, at least, that the Caitlyn has in that same vein. But they're still going to take a little bit of time to truly come into the picture. Obviously, they can spike quite early from that one item breakpoint, but we're truly waiting for that full 5v5 once we've dragged down the likes of Bio and Doraemon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a while before we get to see that 5v5. It's probably going to be a lot of skirmishes. Everyone just wants to get farm. No one really wants to play the drop waves right now and, you know, group and look for engages, which aren't, you know, guaranteed plays. And I think it's something really important to talk about is that, you know, dropping resources for stuff that isn't guaranteed is, you know, a mistake that a lot of people make. They assume the enemy's going to, you know, make an error that shouldn't really happen, and they waste a lot of time on the map. So it's always important to be efficient, stay on the map as much as possible, farm as much as possible, and only really, you know, put yourself out of position to punish, you know, stuff that should be guaranteed.
We're incredibly active. Looking to try and do just that, Tally, is the punishment of, okay, if you step up for one single creep wave, we will be there to make sure you're forced to burn, be it a summoner or a crucial ability to get yourself out of a precarious position like just that. No vision for Bliss to look at towards the second Drake. Obviously, they got the first one, but not going to be too upset about rushing a Dragon Soul anytime soon. Both the support's going to look to try and make matters worse. Kevy pounces in, instant regret, flashes out, Solar Flare is there. Aladoric going to get chased on down by double ultimate, so no escape for him. And that will be his second death of the game.
Yeah, this is really curious to see. So Bliss is like splitting up, trying to contest his objectives. I think Kevy was just, you know, playing for the steal, going, he throwing the spear on the dragon, going over, trying to smite, fight, flash out. You know, he doesn't really think that he needs his flash for the next 5 minutes. But then we have Aladoric walking into river and positioning for a contest. So we do see the fight happening in top lane. I think this does favor Bio very heavily.
And it's looking pretty good for Bio right now as he just completely soaks up that slicing Maelstrom and says, that's nice, but I'm getting stronger and stronger. That 20 CS deficit now becomes 10. And things becoming a little bit better now for their star top laner to contend with. Elsewhere on the map, still aggression primarily through that mid lane, as the AD carries really are just still stuck in their own la-la land of identical CS and just witnessing the chaos all across the rift.
Jovi does have access to TP and he just recalled. We'll have to see if he does commit it here.
Raymond, oh, he's tried to juke everything. A spear, a Zenith Blade, it's just too much at the end. Koe is here, but then Jovi TP's in to try and say we can get one back. Counter-Strike buying crucial seconds. The auto attack's been denied. The exhaust is enough. Bio's still alive, and I think he bought just enough time as the ace in the hole is going to snipe off Jovi. As everybody, apart from Harry, is going to be dragged up into this fight, into this carnage. Harry says, well, that's cool. I'm just going to split push. I just want to become individually stronger, as Aladoric has nowhere left to turn or hide.
Yeah, he's going to fall down here, but we do see Bliss, you know, going for this play on top side, and Harry's like, all right, good luck, guys. I'm TPing to bot. I've had enough, you know, of a hard time trying to farm mid lane. He's going to go get gold. He's going to get CS. Like, he knows he wants to get as strong as possible, so he's able to, you know, play these side lanes. And I think that's the most important thing for Bliss right now is getting strong side lanes. They have the Jackson and the Yone, and that's one of their major win conditions is being able to force the Tristana and Kennen out of the side lanes because 5v5s are just way too much for them to handle right now.
Far too strong and far too difficult, and nearly the ability there for Team Bliss to not only attack bot lane, but also through the mid as well. Doraemon respecting that, keeping in, but easily gets dropped to 50% HP thanks to a nice little trap from his brother in Violet. And the pressure continues to build up as yet another member is forced to disengage away. Mid lane, clearly the emphasis. Let's run it back with this replay top lane because it really is Dodge Simulator.
Yeah, we see Doraemon like fall down here because he overextended, lost the 1v1. We see the TP come through from Jovi though. Very good from Collie to read that this play is going to happen. He waits for the counter-strike to drop, jumps in. I think that he, you know, maybe misclicked a few orders here because it did take a long time for the Shax to fall down, but he is so strong right now that he's going to do so much damage when left alone. And it's really unfortunate, actually, that that ult went straight past Hex Flash. That's 2 for 2. We've seen him, you know, completely fail to block Caitlyn ults right next to him. So I don't know if we're going to have to go back to the replay and review there and talk about, you know, how to stand in front of Caitlyn ults because this should not be landing.
Maybe we need a new segment where we just bring up the VAR, we get the replay and say, all right, yep, I'll allow it, yep, you are not getting a red card on this occasion for a criminal offense of not protecting your fallen teammate. Either way, Shelly's going to rock up to the party. Ace in the hole's going to go out. He has done it, so that entire narrative is out the window, but that turret is going to get dropped low enough. And 4 members being here are still going to persist. And Stick says, watch this. I'm a flanking AD carry. Goodbye, Kevy. You've been smashed by Lethality Varus. Out comes the Slicing Maelstrom. Doraemon hanging on for dear life with the ability to try and run away with that Proto boat, but it's not enough.
Harry's here.
The Zonias, he's far too squishy, but everybody now from Bliss is rocking up. It is the cavalry here to play cleanup crew, but double found by Styx. Both summoners committed for it, and he lives to tell the tale.
Ooh, they are honestly, Iron is extremely lucky that Harry's ult was not up on time there. He went in, it had 5 seconds left on the cooldown, so he, it comes up as he wants to play for the escape, so that's a nice little killy skills there and an easy path out.
Mid lane then, Iron are first to redeploy after that victory in that skirmish, and they're going to say, well, we can answer back with a second turret, continue to match you, and make sure that this gold lead is not shifting, not snowballing anytime soon.
Yeah, as we do go into the replay here, you can see like this is the problem with Nidalee. It's just you're so squishy. He didn't get a lead in the early game, and he's just able to pull in. Team Bliss actually want to commit forward after their jungler does fall down here. They are playing with a numbers disadvantage, but they know that their mid laner is coming, so any play that does happen, he's going to be able to clean this up regardless. Jovi unfortunately wasn't here on time either, so yeah, both mid laners just come up the end to like try pick up some scraps.
It's a nice ult there, just really clipping it across that red camp to get out to safety, make sure that nobody else was going to fall down on that occasion. You can see Aladoric, so resigned to death, be it 10%, says, yep, I'll send it in. We can surely answer back in some favourable fashion. But this has been a really interesting game, to be quite frank, Ali. 20 minutes in, a 1k lead, just about for Ion. Another pulse, fantastic, but the overall golds, it's Styx and Jovi really against the world.
Yeah, and I don't think Bliss have done enough to secure a lead in the early game. I don't think that their solo laners are strong enough to be able to force out this side 2v2s. I think the power of the 5v5 coming out of Ion and like this Maokai pick in particular is just so good at dealing with the Jax, dealing with the Yone. There's just way too much crowd control coming out for like these carries to have threats onto the Ion backline.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to find yourself in, right? Another case of, is it early game jitters? Is it early season jitters, I mean, rather? Because you would be expecting, much like the Grand Zero series, that this should be a fairly one-sided affair. But it just sort of goes back to the point that teams like Ion and Fury are upping the ante, getting a little bit more close in skill levels to contest them and not fall victim to the classic 20 minutes, we're down 10k gold, wrap it up, see you next split situation.
Yeah, definitely. I think that I would give these players the edge definitely for Bliss. They should be coming out with like that strong performance, that strong like double game 2-0, very clean performance. But I think that Ion have come out with a really, really good draft, and that gives them the edge. Like Bliss are fighting from, behind as soon as the game starts. They have to be able to snowball, get a lead, make sure this Yone can get back into his 1v1, but like they don't have a jungler who can snowball that. They have Nidalee. Like Nidalee doesn't want to be spam ganking Tristana. It's just so hard to deal with. She wants to be farming, and then like the Leona is constantly pulled out of lane, so Violet's unable to snowball because they need to help mid get back into the game. There's just so much going on the map that is making Bliss's game plan fall apart just from the start.
Yeah, Firefighter Kevy certainly has his work cut out for him on this occasion. 0-3, not a happy scoreline to reflect on, but we'll be hoping, no doubt, that this game goes late enough that Primal Rage Heal will buff up Violet or Harry to win and save the day. We'll have to see what happens, though, because now there is that sort of mid to late game situation. Things become a little bit scarier as to how clean are you with the macro. I'm sure you're a little bit upset looking at Jovi's build with that coming out as second, but we'll forget about it. IE will still be there waiting for Boris to dish out later on into this game. And Bliss say, well, we know we're not strong enough. We'll go for the split push. You can have that dragon. Yeah,
I think that the one thing for Bliss right now is that it is a Cloud Soul. They're not too worried about like, oh, we have to give over this important dragon because Cloud Soul's not that impactful this game. It is extremely strong with the Kennen and Maokai though. I will mention that. Like, we don't want to see this Kennen with the Cloud Soul TP flanking 1000 move speed just blowing up your team. That's really scary. But Bliss are going to prioritize getting gold, getting side lane turrets, and just making sure they're able to match the power coming out of Ion right now.
Nice buffer on the rocket jump again, making sure the counter-strike stun wasn't going to connect onto Jovi as he looks to try and take down yet another turret, opening up all 3 outers. The map becomes bigger, those TP flanks become better, and the ability for Ion to keep cool and calm under this pressure of like, you've got a lead, how long can you sustain it for? I mean, it's there, and yeah, I am really curious as to at what point we truly get that 5v5, because it feels like it's brewing up for a massive Baron fight.
Yeah, definitely. Something to mention, though, as well, is that, like, I would say Team Bliss's individual champions outscale their counterparts, but I think Ion's comp as a whole outscales and counters what Bliss wants to do in the 5v5. As you do see the TP coming out of Kennen here, and this is what I'm talking about, the TP flank with the Slicing Maelstrom with the flash.
This is the dream situation. You turn around, flash, lock them all in place and hit a devastating combo onto multiple members. It's a bit of a Smeb cosplay here as he's doing criminal amounts, but at the same time, they're not winning the fight, Telly. Team Bliss stood strong, they stood resilient, and they answer back with multiple casualties to be favoring them. Yes, Styx can get a double, but at the end, if they're coming at you, a Lethality Varus can't do much more than that.
Yeah, exactly. They find the engage they want. They find Violet. They take him down. He can't even blow any of his summons before he falls down. But the two solo lanes coming out of Bliss just have a free reign onto the back line of Ion. We'll have to see what really happened there in the replay, as I do believe they're going to be able to pick up a pretty easy Baron here. The damage coming out of the Yone and Jackson will make this a pretty easy skewer.
Should be, for sure, so much damage. And has Jovi got anything left in the tank to try and answer to this one? He has the flash available to him. He has a TP if his HP gets low enough to rejoin the fight, but he pokes his head into the pit and realizes, yep, there's no 1v3 situation for me. Harry's going to make sure that you are definitely not looking to try and clutch it on this occasion, as the hook goes out from Hexflash just for good measure, and the Baron is secure. So just like that, what was an incredibly close game, now up by 4k.
Yeah, as we do go into the replay, you can see like straight away the TP flank, the engage coming out. They really nice ult flash coming out of Hex Flash as well to make sure he gets as much easy as possible. But I think it's just a bit of an overcommittal here coming out of Ion. We see Styx trying to take out priority targets and putting himself in a position where he's susceptible to just getting taken out by Biopanther. And Jax at this point, there's no CC left to mark him right now, and they just have free reign on the backline.
Yeah, far too easy at the tail end that wants to pick off the stragglers and to run everybody down. It's going to look a lot better than for Kevy to find himself established into this one, given how rough it was from the very get-go. But Harry has been quietly achieving right. Rough laning phase, but 4-0-2. The only person deathless in this game in a draft that you said was a little bit rough for the unit to try and navigate.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard draft to navigate, but he's got, at this point, I think he's sitting pretty, he's got the Frozen Fist, he's got the Tenacity coming out the Wit's End, so he's going to have a much easier job in his team fights. He can always, buffer CC with the E and the Fate Unsealed to make sure that he is, in the right spot when these team fights start.
Let's see if another team fight were to break out here. Caitlyn traps obviously make it so easy to set up for these siege as the Baron push begins. 5 turrets to 3 now, as they'll say, well, that's the second turret in the bot lane. Let's just go to another wave, perfectly synced up for us to move into in mid and completely force Ion to match us. They aren't allowed to be proactive whatsoever. I will note, though, that Harry isn't grouped with the rest of this team. For what feels like the majority of this game, he's like, I'll just split push and force Ion to always respond.
This is exactly what he wants to be doing and exactly what Bliss want to do as a team. They want to force these guys to go to side as much as possible. They don't want to do a straight up 5v5 unless they're forced into it. They want to, create numbers advantages. We see Harry go for the ult forward there. If that did land, that would have been the end of Jovi, as it is anyway.
It is indeed. Yeah, he had the flash. He used the Buster Shot. Thought that was enough, but on this occasion, it just was not to be the case. So the split push tactics have worked beautifully in Bliss's favor. And now the siege to look at breaking open the base becomes that much easier.
Yeah, this is just snowballed from, as a really nice hook comes through onto Violet.
Yeah, it certainly does. Shadow Corruptions there afterwards, followed that up by a Maokai. And a fantastic twisted advance to break through any kind of CC coming his way. For the second fight in a row then, Violet's unable to play this game. The heal into Alador, it's just simply not enough there from Kevy as he answers back by taking down the cannon. And finally, they finish what they started, and they do take down the turret.
And it doesn't even matter what Violet does in these fights. I don't think he's got an auto-attack for the last 2 fights, and his team has just absolutely crushed the enemy. So this series to show how strong the solo laners are, and the jungle match of Kevy is for Bliss.
That it certainly is. One inhibitor becomes nearly a second as that drops low, but not low enough for him to stick around and greet it. And they will, with the last stretch of that Baron buff, use it to inspire the recall back to base.
Yeah, as we do see like this hook coming out of Hex Flash, I thought this was a very insane timing on the minion dying. Violet does get caught here, but was able to react with the flash in time, be able to create some distance. But he's just unable to do any damage in these fights. He keeps falling down, but once again, like the backline of Ion is just left exposed. Like Styx is forced to flash out the fight. Bio's just doing so much work with Kevy's damage to just, win these fights extremely comfortably.
Now I'm going to throw out like a random point here, but do you feel like this is a world in which on-hit Varus is better given the diving nature of Bliss, or it's just par of the course, right? You're 7-1 as a lethality Varus, you're incredibly strong. That's just the nature of the beast.
There is a case for it, definitely, because your team wants to engage. They don't want to stand like around and wait for you to like, all right, let me hit a couple of views, let me hit a nice chain of corruption, get someone low. They want to go in straight away because they don't want to wait. For an even worse scenario where like the Yone is pushed out of side wave, has a nice flank. It's all about pulling the trigger very fast. So I can definitely see a case for like playing for the lethality Varus. I mean the on-hit Varus. And you see Fire going in. 1v5.
He really is at this stage, isn't it? They're calling in as many boys as they can rally up as the TP comes in. Bios is bring them all. I am the Avengers. I am Thanos. I'll snap my hands and I'll take down one for 40 seconds. And the rest of my team, look what they get accomplished, Telly. They open up mid, they prep a wave top. And Ion, I mean, they look like headless chickens running all over the show.
Yeah, and Bio has done his job there. He's found the solo kill, he's blown a TP. We'll have to see how much Bliss want to go for though, because, you know, Doraemon will have access to the TP in 20 seconds. No slicing Maelstrom though, so it'll be pretty hard to find another nice TP flank with the ult.
Let's see what they can find. Well, what we can find is another pause, unfortunately. 3 for 3 now, which really does suck. You do wonder what it could be at such crucial moments like this, but this seems as if Team Bliss are ready to claim their second inhibitor in this game, with the third in bot lane already being exposed. This is them basically setting a bit of a tone for how game one's going to come to a close. It's like you've had your fun for 20 minutes, you made it competitive, but now let us showcase our class and experience and put you back in your place.
Yeah, I think that's the word to talk about right now is experience, because we're seeing a very quiet game from the Bliss bot lane, but the top side trio coming out of Bliss is just having a very phenomenal performance in these team fights, when you really wouldn't expect that coming out of like champs who are not traditionally good in team fights. And I think that just comes down to experience and like knowing their limits, knowing when their power spikes come online, and when they're really strong and what fights to take.
Yet I think obviously as the game has progressed on, some of the weaknesses of what early game looked like have definitely gone away. Biofan for having a pretty sizable lead now into Doraemon, who's been unable to continue that farming advantage. All that good work that Coley was able to achieve in the start as well, of allowing his team to have all the vision and insight as to what Bliss were up to, has also fallen to the wayside. Kevy's actually got himself a bounty, right? So he's actually feeling pretty strong in this later stage. And on top of all of that, still preserving that perfect KDA is Harry at 5-0-3. So if they can somehow find this pseudo-tank Yone pick, then that's 1k going into their back pocket.
Yeah, honestly, just a very, very nice, like, disciplined performance from Harry. Like, he did so good to navigate the throw that they did in the early game. He did a really good job in his 1v1 to just stem the bleeding, make sure he's still strong in the mid game, and then, it's just snowballed from the fact that, like, okay, you guys are going to go for fights consistently. I'm going to TP the side lanes. I'm going to take turrets. I'm going to get a CS lead, because I know when I hit my item spikes, I will take over this game.
We set yet another breakpoint in that, right, with the Immortal Shield Bow being picked up. So this is an incredibly tanky Yone Edge. I joked about it earlier, right, talking about like the Sunfire Cape once upon a time. He says, watch this game. I'm going to show you a brand new variation of just that. Soul Stealer, the Magi, is actually being picked up by Kevy. Really is feeling himself now that the later stages of this game have come into effect. But we're checking with the overall gold one more time. And as we've been mentioning, it is the Yone at the top of those charts. But it is Styx still, because he is 7-1, Tally, absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, he is insanely fed on the Varus, but I think this is a story that we keep seeing in these lethality Varus just unable to output the DPS they need when they're so fed. As we see Aladoric looking for an engage on the Zobi.
Oh, that's really well done there by Jovi, dodging literally everything in the horror maze. But unfortunately, at the end, there's still more CC to come. The Solar Flare locks him down. The Ace of the Hole takes out his brother. Violet gets one up and says you can eat those scraps both in game and at the dinner table. And now they rocket straight into the base at the 30-minute mark. They say we've done enough damage. Those inhibitors aren't respawning for another few minutes now, so let's just escort this wave in and finish this game.
Yeah, and this is like one of the problems with lethality Varus is like if the enemy team just hard engages onto you, you will not do the same DPS as an auto-attacking AD carry. Like your Q is not that low of a cooldown. You're going to keep throwing this poke out, but it's just not doing the damage that you really think, as he might be able to force them off this turret here. We'll have to see if Bliss are confident to still end this game when Styx is up. The Nexus is going to be exposed, and I think that they feel confident to end this game here.
Seems to be the way as they respawn back in. Frantically they hunt. The TP was guaranteed that the super was going to stay alive, so they were guaranteed to do extra damage, and at the 30-minute mark, Bliss do put a bow on it. But I'll tell you what, Ion certainly made them work for it, and I think it's still all to play for going into game 2.
Yeah, Ion definitely made them work for it. I think they had a good showing, in team fights to really snowball this Varus. It's just unfortunate. Probably wasn't the right champion to have all that gold there against that team, but I think that very well played by Bliss, very well played by Harry in particular to just have a really good performance that game.
But let's see what the adaptation is going into the second game in the series, whether or not Ion can actually scrounge any points at all in this series, or if Bliss will continue to be in winning ways with back-to-back 2-0s. We'll see you right after this. Four members being here are still going to persist. And Styx says, watch this. I'm a flanking AD carrier. Goodbye, Kevy. You've been smashed by lethality Varus. Out comes the slicing Maelstrom. Doraemon hanging on for dear life. with the ability to try and run away with that Proto boat, but it's not enough.
Ares here.
The Zonias, he's far too squishy, but everybody now from Bliss is rocking up. It is the cavalry here to play cleanup crew, but double found by Styx. Both summoners committed for it, and he lives to tell the tale.
Ooh, they are honestly.
It's no use telling me what you think it's over. Should've jumped from the ship, now we're up to our shoulders. But hold on, just a little bit longer now. Yeah, hang on, just a little bit harder now. You need to relax, you gotta go with the flow. You need to relax, start by saying hello. I remember the time before the flailing, blinded by the horizon, smoother sailing. We're so gone, yeah, our love boat bottomed out. Moved along, just like a note in a bottle now. You need to relax, you gotta go with the flow. You need to relax, start by saying hello. You need to relax. You need to relax, you gotta go with the flow. You need to relax, start by saying hello. You need to relax, you gotta go with the flow.
Here's the reason that Kevy's after becomes the Varus. Full stand on the stopwatch, it's carnage! Only triple happening here is for Phyto. Oh, it's do or die!
The gauntlet of Thanos, aka Bliss, is inevitable. They take home the game #1, looking so strong, almost so calm, so collected. It's exactly what you want to see from arguably the #1 team that we're all looking at in this split. It's looking so good here, Skimmy. It was so close right up until that one fight and then the Baron for Bliss, Skimmy. Do you think there could have been something better that Iron could have done here?
It's hard because I think they really had the perfect scenario with that flank from Doraemon in the mid lane there, completely undetected. He went in, hit literally everybody. You can't ask much more out of your top laner than that, and then they lost the fight. So, yeah, I think that's when you certainly go for the knee-jerk reactions, like what could have changed, could be gone for a different build, a different pick, so on and so on down the line. But I mean, this is the exact fight I'm discussing here, right? The fact is that Bliss just stand strong and say, that's cool, but we can just weather the storm and get the kills. And once they found those initial picks, right, all these other champions are just so susceptible to being run on down. So, could they have done much more? Maybe, but I think to keep it competitive for 20 minutes when the odds feel so stacked against them, that in its own is enough of an achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big part of that as well, and I know, Tally, you want to touch on this, is this Varus build on Styx, right? It just didn't feel the greatest on the lethality. You sort of mentioned in the cast that on hit could have been the right call. Do you agree with that? But the damage still speaks for itself.
Yeah, the perk Varus build is always going to do an insane amount of damage. It's just hard to, you know, talk about this in a positive sense because of like how much Sustain's going to come out of the side with the Nidalee Hills and like how tanky this Yone is, like the stairs coming out of Jax. He's going to hit a point in the game where the Varus just isn't able to put damage out that's going to threaten these guys. I think he's more of a bridging champion with this build. Like, I can get you guys to a point because my champ is so strong in the early mid game that like you can carry me in the late game. Like, I think the Tristana and the Kennen are much better champs in the late game than the Varus, but I would probably put it down to, I think his positioning in fights, as we saw in the replays, was, he was having to blow flashes from, like, being too close to the Jax, being too close to the CC coming out of the Bliss side, and that's probably more important than, the correct build.
Now, I want to touch on as well, because we saw Ion showing insane shows of life, right? Like, they were looking so good, 20 minutes, they were up a couple K gold at the same time, but are we just seeing a better Bliss where they just know how to close out games, Skimmy?
I think it's a bit of both. The fact that Iron were able to capitalize on the fact that Kevin made a mistake in the mid lane, so Jovi was able to get double buff. I think obviously that helps things immensely for them to run around the map and do as they please. Obviously for Harry to have to show a lot of respect and say, I can't actually gank you, I can't even go for the 1v1 anymore. I'm just going to be ignoring these team fights all day long. That's what he did, right? I think he finished the game with a perfect KDA just because he split pushed to win. He just opened up avenues for Bliss to find new win conditions. Otherwise, maybe some worrying moments, but look, yeah, I think overall it's probably a positive for both teams. It's just a case of what changes going into game 2 to see if we can lead more in one direction or the other.
And that was leading in exactly into my next question. Tally, what should we see Ion do in this next game to change things up a little bit to get that win?
I really liked how Ion played this game. I liked their draft as well. I think they had a good mix of, strong team fighting, good game plan, good early game. I think it just comes down to how they execute these team fights. I think that what really mattered there was that Bliss just looked much more comfortable in these like micro situations to just outperform their opponents. And I don't believe Ion is a team that lacks micro skill. I think they can also match up to like the best in our league. And I just want to see them play that a little bit better in team fights. I think that really was the difference in this game.
Yeah, we got the draft here as well that we'll bring up on your screen right now. Let's have a quick look at this. Again, you guys know me. I'm a huge Yone fan, and Harry definitely showed up on this Yone. Good call, but like, do you think it was a good pick? Skimmy? I'll pass that to you, Skimmy.
Look, I don't actually mind what he plays. I really enjoy what Harry's got to offer, especially when we had the split when it was like Harry, Ryoma, and Kisaya as well. I think we were absolutely spoiled for mid lane talent. So I was running down the numbers of like recency buys, so I was thinking, yeah, it has to be another mage, right? Like the Syndra and so on. But he says, you know what? Throw caution to the wind. More AD, more aggression. I'll elect for a harder matchup, and I'll just make it work. So yeah, I don't mind it too much. Obviously, Telly will have a different opinion to that one, be it a mid laner himself. But look, he made it work, and it's a sign of a good player.
I will say, I'll pass that on to Tally, the same question, but Yone does have split magic damage as well. Can't forget those autos as well. But Tally, did you like the Yone? Is there any other pick here that you sort of thought, oh, this could be interesting, and it showed up awesome?
I like the Yone. I think it fits Bliss's playstyle. A lot of different AD mids, they have different spikes in the game. Maybe they want to play the Corki to match a bit of the early game from the Tristana. That was an option they went for. There was also, we can play the Jace, we can play a more poke-oriented comp, but they decided to go for the Yone because they like to have more side lane pressure, a bit more, team fight presence, another carry threat in case, they blow every single resource to get onto Violet, which we kept seeing over and over again, and he's unleashed on the backline and he just takes over the game.
Does so well. And very much like the fate seal we saw out of Harry's, we got to seal your fates right now by sealing in your Twitch channel point vote. Get it up in the corner over there. It's the only way to stack that dairy. I got all my points back. I think I only made like 500 points though, putting my money onto Bliss. But I know these guys are going to be able to pop it in too, so get in your votes. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And it's always nice to see how many people get as much in there. I think, do you guys know what the record for most channel points put into a bet has been? I think I've seen it go over like 5 million before.
Oh,
I think for like the big like hype matchups, it does get pretty high. Yeah, I wouldn't know off the top of my head. Like, that's not a record I don't think we track.
We should.
We should.
I'm gonna start. I was going to say I'll start doing it, but I'm too intent on these games. But guys, we have a short break to come up as we get into the final match of the night. It's going to be one big banger. You're going to have to stick around as it is Bliss versus Ion. Can Bliss run it back, get that 2-0, keep that perfect track, or is Ion going to take the game away and solidify a draw? You'll have to wait and see.